Which is less of a comment about big money. As soon as I said that, I realized it sounded a little harsh. But it's really more of a comment on Cyclone. Cyclone's a strong team. Can big money do it from behind a second time? We'll see as we get into picks and bans here. P's and B's. Cyclone with the first pick.
Cyclone's also a team that I think most people around the console scene would even argue this is the team that should have the advantage here in this set, because they are a team that I think have had a couple of more familiar faces that have been around this console scene just a bit longer. But that doesn't mean that new talent can't work its way in, and big money certainly looking to move their way up in the standings here. 2-0 would be the dream, but I definitely think Cyclone are going to make it tough for them.
Well, the first two bans are out. King Arthur and Artio are going to be taken off the table. The opposition out for the Freya and the Xbalanque. Bacchus is available. That's immediately where my brain goes. Certainly one of the stronger characters at the moment. It's like Bacchus, Bakasura. It will be the Bacchus, though, first and foremost, and now big money on the clock.
I think that's the right call as well. Bacchus is just so safe, and there's not really much that can harass him or cause too many issues that I think Cyclone would really be all that worried about. And it gives Cyclone an excellent opportunity here to kind of pressure big money into trying to establish an aggressive dual lane composition of their own, which is why I think we see the response of Cernunnos and Kumbhakarna. That's not only a relatively safe lane clearing presence, but also I think that there is some steep punishment that can be involved if the Bacchus flop is off the mark into a Kumbhakarna route.
Well, big damage out of the Bacchus support lines itself up to allow executes to go off. Achilles is going to be the selection here, and we're going to see it paired up with a Jing. So Jing Bacchus likely to be that duo lane. Achilles could be in the jungle, could be in the solo lane. We've seen a number of players kind of opt for different things out of that guy. So first round picks for Cyclone, all said and done. Bacchus, Jing, and Achilles. And then big money going to finish their duo lane off by adding a Bakasura, likely in the jungle.
I like seeing that Bakasura too, because not only are they looking to, I think, take that away from Cyclone, but the Bakasura regurgitate adding in a cripple field when you already have a lot of heavy crowd control because of the Kumbhakarna alone is just going to be another good assisting factor to really make that wild hunt shine.
Agni going to be banned out here by Cyclone. They say, look, if we can't play it, no, looking at the Baka, struggles some stuff there for Agni as far as the cripple is concerned. If we can't play it, you can't play it. So the Agni going to be banned out across the way. Another mid laner, Janus, gets hit by the ban stick.
Cyclone got a thing against A-Gods, and then they go to the opposite side of the alphabet.
From A to Z, Arthur, Artio, and Agni, and Zeus.
And then Zeus.
And Zeus.
I kind of wish that they would have done AMC just for the hell of it.
Yeah.
Would that have actually been almost alphabetically correct ban-wise, too?
And for what it's worth, I mean, jokes aside, an AMC would be a strong ban. He's a character that can play in the mid lane as well, one of the stronger hunters. So I wouldn't have hated it, but with Hera on the board, I think that's obvious where big money esports are going to go. Jungle Pele here for Cyclone, and they're likely going to put Achilles in the short lane.
I think that Cyclone are definitely aiming to have that Achilles in the solo lane, but more importantly, feels like a little bit of a swapper route between these junglers. Last game we saw Privative getting to rock the Pele. Well, this time around it's going to be Cyclone's jungler who's going to get a chance on that Pele, and what we initially, or at least what I initially believed to be a Bakasura in the jungle, I'm not so certain about any longer, because this could very well end up being a Bakasura solo lane up against the Achilles.
It absolutely could be. I'm hoping to see some of this Hebo. I don't care where he is. I want to see some Hebo. Jungle, mid, ADC. Just bring me the Hebo. In fact, let's get into game. Casters, bring me the Hebo.
You know, Tom said he was hoping to see some Hebo. I guarantee you'll see some Hebo.
Yeah.
He's for sure here.
He's definitely in the mid lane for Cyclone.
Yeah. He's going to be played by
Orignalspartan.
This is actually a good idea because he was playing Giannis like he was Hebo anyway. So now he's actually on Hebo, and he can go right up to the front and blow people up, for sure.
He's going to one-shot everyone as long as he has that lead. So he did have about a 3-4 level lead. He was sitting at level 19 when adaption was still about that level 16 marker. A lot of that was enabled because he was Giannis, however, because he used those portals and movement speed to go into the enemy's jungle in that mid to late game. Also, his team was getting the better end of it with a bunch of objective control.
I don't want to bury the lead here, though, totally. There's a Bakasura in the solo lane. That's happening.
I love
Snadows. And it can work. This is clearly like playing a composition with a ton of damage on it. And look where he is. He's not in the solo lane. He's stealing farm. That's the red buff being taken away. It's exactly where you want your Bakasura. So.
Yeah, do it. portal back to the wave, right? Teleport back to the wave. You're only missing about 2 or 3 melee minions.
Yeah,
You're going to make up for that experience anyway by getting that red buff, 273 to 210. You're actually ahead of the Achilles now as a result of this opening strategy. Only going to be even further now. Not actually picking up the red buff. Not even worrying
He doesn't even
about
want the blue.
that.
Yeah,
No.
I'm surprised by that.
He might find a kill soon.
This is dangerous for Sins. Butcher Blades do not care that you're Achilles and have a Warrior's Blessing. They will go right through that. So this could be potentially dangerous for, for this Achilles.
He doesn't have Eat Minion yet, Snadows, so he's not going to be able to sustain and not too much mana, so he needs to be mindful about jumping in. However, he does need to stack that Warrior's Blessing, so you're trading out the mana you use for that ability for the 40 that you're about to receive from that item.
Right, that's the hope, is to get that stacked and get some sustain there. As Xerxes takes quite a bit of poke, but they're happy to return the favor into Beaudilla as they continue on
level
the chase.
1.
They've even used a sprint as well because he's still, as you said, doesn't have 2 abilities available to him. But they can't quite lock him down. Beaudilla should be okay.
Not finding it quite yet. Advantages from both side lanes from Big Money. Both aggression, right? Like this Bakasura wants to find some kills, going to look for the Totem of Ku, spawning in 10 seconds or so. Left side as well. There's Cernunnos, Kumbhakarna. Looking for the kills onto the Bacchus, just not even caring about clearing the wave necessarily. And I like the fact that they go in the Bacchus instead of the Jing wave, because Jing wave is just going to go back to the base anyway, use that passive to be obnoxious and show off her wings, but not the Bacchus.
He will feel every bit of the pain if they can put it on him and have him stick, if he doesn't have enough potions. He does still have 1 health pot left to help him keep ticking, so he's not in trouble just yet, as Snadows has now found his Eat Minion and has some health sustain, and mana sustain should be okay in just a moment as blue buff about to spawn.
That's
so I
right.
think he's made it through this scary early game.
He has made it through, but he doesn't have the health pool to play with as a squishy assassin. Sure, you do have Warrior's Blessing, but you still can't stack up to any warrior, let alone an Achilles. That also has quite a bit of physical power with his own passive, whether or not he goes shirtless or not shirtless. So most Achilles, as does Snadows, or Shaolin rather, goes for the shirtless build.
It's pretty good in that early game. Nothing wrong with that. You need the extra bit of damage. It's not just the Bakasura with an interesting early start. Also, Nano Adaptions elected to go with the Book of Thoth Rush, which you see a lot. We don't see as much of anymore. Hold that thought, though. YarBadKid takes quite a bit of poke and has to drop the beats.
I don't know if the beats was necessary when you're dealing with a level 4 Serqet. If that was a level 5 Serqet, I'm all about using the beads there. You don't want to get last breath into a really poor position.
He'd already been hit by Cobra's Kiss,
That's right.
Yeah, so.
Maybe he was assuming that Adaption was going to be able to hit that polymorph through the wall, so he didn't want that secondary follow-up.
We might have our first blood as everything is done by YarBadKid that he can to run away from Argus, so he will just barely survive. Several ultimates drop. Now ShaolinSSinS in trouble, but the XU came through. I don't know what Snadows thought was going to happen. He didn't have the leap or anything, just gets hit by it.
Yeah, that was a little strange, honestly. I
thought he had the jump or something.
Maybe he thought he could out-DPS the Fatal Strike. It wasn't even close, though. He did have a Power Spike play where he had Berserker Shield, and Shaolin didn't back to base, just now finishing off the Gladiator Shield. So that was the idea and the mindset. It just did not prove fruitful.
He went to the ultimate so confidently that I thought for sure he had the jump still and was just going to jump over it or something. But I was like, no, he doesn't.
I thought so, too, actually. I'm not going to lie.
It's the only reason you'd play that way. At least that's what I thought. But no, he ends up unfortunately falling. Maybe he realized he was dead to rights no matter what. And like you said, tried to play to the out of the DPS race and just didn't happen.
Yeah, and at this point now as a level 5 Bakasura, you are struggling against a level 6 Achilles. Neither of them, or sorry, both of them actually having the health chalice, so it's all about the race of the Totem of Ku. Snadows will get it, but he's taking a little bit of poke in return. Not something you want to do when Achilles is going to utilize that poke into an execute.
Orignalspartan has now been hit by the last breath, and the auto attack was there as well, but does not get the ambush. That should be enough for Orignalspartan to live, but he's still pushing forward as Beaudilla has Privative locked down, and he can start heading back towards the base. Even a bit of laughter coming out as the Hobwa lives.
Shaolin going to take some poke from the Butcher Blades. His Fatal Strike is available. He does get the stun off, looking for the combat dodge reset. Gets that off too, but the Eat Minion sustaining him up ever so slightly. I like the idea that Privative had, looking for the last hit with the ambush. He knew for a fact that he didn't have the DPS that he needed. He needed to get off that basic attack after the last breath, and without getting that one off to consume the poison stacks, he put himself too far out of position.
Red buff secured. Beaudilla works together. Had YarBadKid there just in case he needs him, and that means Xerxes will find nothing more, and he'll just fall back. Bukathoth now finished for Adaption as well, so he can get that stacking up. He'll need some boots here soon if he wants to be able to get away from a very speedy Pele and then the wet carpet friend of Orignalspartan. So he's going to need those boots sooner rather than later.
That's very, very true. Last game, Privative didn't really opt for too many boots on the Bakasura there,
That's
where
right.
he went
His-
for all
his
those
feet were
blades.
cold, totally.
Yeah, very, very cold. But this time around on the Serqet, I don't think he can get away with the only sword tree, because going katana on a Serqet doesn't really make too much sense. Getting the MP5 from Traveler Shoes goes a long way as well, though.
Yeah, she's not trying to auto-attack you down so much as use these abilities to get in and out. So I like the boots much better from Privative here in this build. In fact, they might be able to find YarBadKid. Not if you miss both the Cobra's Kisses, though. Ambush to keep things going. Last breath to bring him back towards Xerxes, but Mez off the mark means YarBadKid's out of there.
The wall, like the throwback from the Serqet, just wasn't quite there. Threw him away from the Kumbhakarna, surprisingly enough. That's a little odd. Normally you want to be able to put people out of position closer to towards your teammates, not away from them. That needs to be cleaned up if Big Money want to get on the board with some of these kills.
And they insisted on this Serqet, right? They picked this last, I believe, after they already had the Bakasura here on their team. So they really wanted to have this double assassin composition, to have the ability to get back there and shred some of Cyclone. So we got to see it clean up a little bit to make sure they're getting the maximum value out of it.
That's very true. But now in a 2-for-0, Cyclone are looking for the kills. They were the ones kind of controlling the objectives the last game, but they're the ones now winning this early game kill threshold. Orignalspartan with beats still, looking for a little bit of poke. Using that ultimate to prevent himself from getting messed, keeping the beats alive. I love it.
That means Xerxes now very low. He ends up put into the passive, and he'll certainly fall. AxiomSpeed's the one that gets the kill on the Jing this game instead of the Amuzin Cobb. But now where do they go in the back end?
Where's the Hera ultimate? Everyone is surrounding Xerxes through the Kumbhakarna passive. That is prime real estate. Just so many acres for the Argus to just have a field day at the end, but like not dropping that is a little sketchy. I think that they could have found at least a return kill. Don't allow your support to just die for nothing like that.
2v2 happening by those mid camps as well, and that should spell the end of YarBadKid. Adaption finally getting onto the board. Beaudilla should be okay at this point. They've gotten the pick they wanted, now they'll fall back. The Hera pulls the trigger just a little later than you wanted.
It did, but YarBadKid a little out of position there, so a good recognition from Adaption, finding the kill there, but they're not done yet. Leading the charge, Xerxes looking for something. Orignalspartan having to use the purification beads. I like it, but now without an ultimate, without the purification beads, Big Money can easily look for this Hebo.
ShaolinSSinS teleported into this fight, so they got to try and keep this going if they want teleport value out of this, and he will try and hunt down Xerxes, but without the stun, nothing more will come from it. Privative's back is complete, and instead they'll see if they can steal some farm, but nothing's here yet. I think they don't get much out of the teleport to mid.
No, definitely not. Snadows was able to farm up a little bit more, finishing off his golden blade, so can easily start boxing in between those minions as well. Snadows realizes he's not going to win the race there, as Shaolin was beating on that for a couple of seconds anyway. Looking for a little bit of poke now into the red side. Orignalspartan without beats, but with an ultimate.
They should be able to grab the buff, but that's not going to stop Orignalspartan from pushing further forward, zoning out the rest of the team. They give the red buff over to the Bacchus, so he can swing a little bit harder, but he better not die. He only just got it. Privative comes in, locks him down, and that's one more kill for Big Money Gaming.
That polymorph straight into the Serqet damage. This is just good synergy between your mid jungler, really abusing this Bacchus. And it was all set up by Xerxes using the Mez. When you can confirm CC like that against any target that doesn't have purification beads, you're looking for easy kill opportunities. And honestly, Cyclone are baiting themselves into these positions. Orignalspartan looking for these kinds of aggressive plays, uses his ultimate again, just to kind of do a little bit of damage. Misses the knock-up on Cernunnos, as the dash was perfectly timed to prevent that from happening, but baiting out your support to get the red buff was just not a good look.
Orignalspartan jukes both the Cobra's Kisses again. That looked pretty cool, but he does get hit by the polymorph. Though in the end, nothing more comes from that. Snadows happily coming over to trade ShaolinSSinS, but with the stun there, he should be A-okay at forcing this Bakasura back out. But I think you're right. Cyclone have been a little too aggressive at times, and Big Money Gaming have gotten better at responding for the punishes.
And so far, neither of them going for real objectives between these Gold Furies, but this could change very easily once some of the respawn timers increase in the duration. Horrific Emblem is available for a Beaudilla. Without the sprint from Xerxes, that could be one play that they're leaning on, but without the assistance of their Serqet that's kind of farming those back camps. Not going to make anything of it. Actually getting invaded by this Serqet. Privative backing to base at the last possible moment. Looking for little plays like that, stretching the lead. Having this 1-level lead for Privative is going to give him the level 12 race victory to pick up that second relic.
He should be able to get there a little bit sooner, but will he back in time to actually make use of that power spike as Beaudilla has gone for the long wraparound to try and catch him out. Still has the leap, gets him away from the stun, but not from the flop. But they can't lock him down far enough outside the tower, so he'll be okay. And now even Xerxes rotating in to think about this totem coup.
I think they could have looked for an Intoxicate with the Fatal Strike combination. Bakasura not known for having the highest health pool, but looking for a little 2-on-2. But in the mid lane, another 2-on-2.
A nice Argus comes down. Orignalspartan already low. Crushing Wave lets him retreat. He still has the damage ticking on it from the last breath, but it won't be quite enough. But Deathbane closes the gap. But YarBadKid gets an easy trade 1-for-1. Jungler for mid lane. Maybe now Orignal can finish off that Doom Orb.
Yeah, looking for a little bit of extra mobility. He wants to be so fast, as if the yellow Atlas River wasn't enough mobility.
So, okay, so he's got the Cursed Orb already. He's going to stop and start working on the tier 2 of some penetration instead of waiting to finish off the Doom Orb. This is very interesting. Doom Orb is a bit expensive. I think it's 3,200 to finish that one off.
It's up there, that's for sure. And
maybe that's why he's
waiting.
waiting.
I like to see these innovative builds because, you know, you got to be able to be a little innovative as to how you're going to play it around. Yeah, it is 3,200 gold. The tier 2 version Cursed Orb, you're still getting a little bit of a passive anyway, right? Like you're getting 1% movement speed and 3 magical power per stack, up to 5 times. So just getting it for the passive, and it's not super expensive considering it's only 1,600 gold to get the tier 2 version. Probably going to finish off his penetration before completing the Doom Orb.
I have to imagine this is just because he took that death there, right? And so now he's backing off his timer, and he wants to make sure he's doing something to complete, to get some kind of power spike, but now he's backing again. So I guess we get a chance to see if he finishes anything off. No, Orignalspartan backed again and didn't buy anything further with it. So this is just a tier 2 kind of strat that he's going right now.
The Enchanted Spear is 1,400 gold, so if anything, he should have just waited for the 200 gold if he wanted to finish off the Doom Orb.
Right, but instead, since he bought it, maybe that means he is going to, as you said, stick with that Cursed Orb for now and just finish up whatever his next penetration item is going to be. He's still got some options on where he wants to go there.
I'm expecting this to be a Spirit Magus, although he does have some cooldown reduction. Shoes of Focus, the Magi's Blessing. If he wants additional, then he'll go for the Spear of Desolation instead. But with how short the cooldowns are, Spirit Magus goes a long way.
The uppercut's already been used. Beaudilla, that's low. He comes right back down, and Polymorphed means he has few options. Conviction makes it 2-for-0 as Serqet rides the waves along with Orignalspartan. Last breath's on him, but he should be A-okay. Now the rest of Big Money want the Gold Fury, but Axiom might be in some trouble. He dashes out of there, and that's an objective for Big Money.
Big Money, finding the picks, finding the objectives, something that they've not been able to do in the previous game in terms of the objectives, but the picks have certainly been there, and thus far, finding the flanking opportunities, allowing Orignalspartan to use that ultimate defensively is where Big Money Gaming succeeded. When you don't have to worry about a Hebo ultimate, the rest of your backliners are in a safe, comfortable position, and the engage from Xerxes, the epic uppercut onto Beaudilla, he had nowhere to go once landing. This is only a level 10 Bacchus that doesn't have too many defensive items. And even with that Bacchus passive of 14% damage mitigation, not enough to keep himself alive. You add another kill onto YarBadKid, a 5-on-3 going heavily in the favor of Big Money.
Orignalspartan has completed off his penetration option. It was the Divine Ruin. Interesting that he went for this. There's not a ton of dedicated healing.
I didn't even consider Divine Ruin because I'm like, oh, he's so offensively minded with his like positioning, with his decision making, that there's no way he's going to sacrifice damage from this item just to get some anti-healing. Like, sure, Bakasura has Eat Minion, Cernunnos has some sustain with Devil Gloves and Spring Stance. But really, like, you're going for Divine Ruin.
It's not an amount of healing that makes you think you have to rush this.
It's not a team-based wide healing. Like, you're not dealing with a Guan Yu, an Aphrodite, a Hell Rot, like nothing like that demands a Divine Ruin, right?
Maybe it's this Berserkers part 2 where they think they don't have a way to kill Snadows because of too much sustain. I'm very curious that he's gone for it. It never hurts, but this is certainly going to hurt for Axiom. Conviction deletes it before the airstrike can even come out. it never hurts to have Divine. There's always some healing, but it's not pressing, is what right? It's not like insisting that you build it.
It's definitely not insisting, but it is going to hurt him because his power curve could have been better. He could have had more damage if he just went for either of the two different trees up from that enchanted spear, as Spartan not winning this trade whatsoever, but he has the assistance of his teammates this time around.
Well, there you go, Toli. If Snadows had slightly more healing, maybe he'd at least made that 1-for-1. So that, But Orignalspartan getting help.
No, You're not winning this one on me. I'm not letting that one slide. Not this time.
No, you're 100% right.
You're not going to punch me.
You're 100% right on that one, as YarBadKid has to run away from Privative. He does make it out of there. I think he would only have gotten that kill easier had he had a Spear or Spear of Desolation or Madness.
If he had Spear of Desolation, he might have actually won the 1v1 fight, just outright. But because he doesn't, his build is a little janky, I'm not going to lie, between this Divine Ruin and Tier 2 version of the Cursed Orb.
He's just chilling with Cursed Orb.
Yeah, still building onto it. Like, I don't mind it. Like, Tier 2 version of the passive, like, clearly this is a passive build. Like, this is something that you're utilizing the movement speed for yourself once you're pushing out waves. As Beaudilla has used the belly flop, Arcus dropped on top of him, trying to run for his life, avoids the polymorph, gets the Intoxicate off. Orignalspartan, without his ultimate, can't clean up yet.
Man, damage mitigation's pretty good, isn't it? As Beaudilla's still somehow alive and makes it back out of there. Bacchus is so difficult to take down, and now an overcommit from Xerxes has cost him his life. Cyclone finally finding the kill. They even give it over to Orignalspartan to get him one on the board, 1-1-4.
The fact that Beaudilla was able to juke out the polymorph saved his life at the tail end of it all. Orignalspartan could have had a sick 3-man ultimate, but it just wasn't available on cooldown quite yet. YarBadKid wanted to chase out Conviction. Going to get slowed out a little bit. The attention has shifted to the Bakasura.
He's in some trouble, certainly. YarBadKid takes him down. That's 2 picks for Cyclone without having to give anything up in return. Where do they go in the back end? Pyromancer's there. They want to go start this up, and ShaolinSSinS has Conviction zoned away. So this should be a Pyromancer that's theirs for free. And
the next Fury not due to respawn for about another minute, so this is a perfect timing window. You found a pick on the right side of the map. Pick up the Pyromancer just for good measure. Shaolin looking for somebody. Look at this. Cernunnos dashed in offensively. Shaolin going to be aggressive here.
He certainly could be in some trouble. Privative's here to make it a 2v1 at least and force SSINS out. And that means he won't have any kill potential, so Conviction does make it out A-okay, but curious, right? Dashing it aggressive.
Maybe okay, so there's no way you're thinking they're doing Fire Giant there, right? So
they had a ward, I think, for a while, too, so they definitely knew.
The only other option is like, oh, maybe I'm going to stop somebody's back, and then we're going to be offensive. But that was a good little bait tactic from Shaolin. If it was only Conviction there, that was going to be a guaranteed kill, or at least maybe forcing out some defensive relics.
This remains a very close set between these two teams. It was very close in Game 1, back and forth. It's that again here in Game 2. About 1,000 gold separates the two teams. It's really nothing that's between them. The experience is something, but we're approaching 20 minutes. It's going to start to mean less, but it's still 4,000's relevant at this point.
It's really going to come down to which mid laner is more effective in these engages. So far, Spartan getting the better end of the trade battle. Xerxes already sitting at about 70% health now. Beaudilla finding the stun, avoiding the mez as well. Privative going to get spotted out, sitting behind that Gold Fury. Axiom not going to let him back either.
Oh, catching him out. So that means Privative will not make it back to base. Beaudilla's going to push forward as well to not give an easy back over to this Serqet, as I think they want to try and grab this Fury. Looks like that might be the Primal that's up right now. Indeed it is, as Xerxes gets knocked up and Cyclone secure the objective. But what about the fight on the back end? Xerxes has the route to land on Beaudilla. Conviction has some shots, and Privative can't find his way in.
Crushing Wave was used to secure that objective. Now making the rotation is Shaolin, stunning out Xerxes. Very low for possible execute. Just needs a little bit more damage, but the rest of the team called off the engagement. Without the Hob Wall ultimate, you don't really want to fight into that, no matter how low this Kumbhakarna is. And that's kind of what was the downfall on the flip side, where all of Big Money was chasing out Beaudilla around that red buff as Xerxes put himself out of position. Even though they could have found a kill onto Xerxes, that was the correct play. You get the objective, you find a hard reset.
And Cyclone make it out without giving up too much. The question is, though, is there a clock for this Big Money team? They've got 2 assassins in the late game. Are they going to be wanting for frontline? They do have Argus. Kumbhakarna is a great tank by himself, but I just wonder if they're going to wish they had a solid warrior.
It could be the case. Like, they need to find some sort of distraction. One of these assassins has to create so much of a disturbance in the forest that the other will clean it all up. And if anyone goes in first, it should be Snadows, considering he's the AoE frontliner that'll just chomp on everybody, whereas Privative will see, all right, who used their beads, and whoever used their beads between Adaption or Conviction, that's going to be the primary target from the Serqet. But it's hard to really penetrate for either of these assassins because of this last pick, Spartan, shifting the attention from a Giannis, even though it was banned away, to a Habwa is a good game sense of like, okay, double assassins, I'm technically also a magical assassin, so it's either kill or be killed for this mid lane Habwa.
It can feel that way with Habwa, right? Because there's so much damage. I'm curious, though. Privative is the one who's built a more tanky instead of Snadows. He's the one with the Blackthorn, the one with the runic shield there. He's even building into another defensive option with his cloak. Maybe he'll be the one that's trying to bridge that gap.
So the idea behind going Serqet tank is because of your passive having a percent.
That's right.
Damage base off of whoever you hit with all your poisons upon consuming them with a basic attack. So it doesn't really matter if you go for penetration or extra damage.
ShaolinSSinS is getting a little bit of that right now as Last Breath comes in to negate any healing that could come out. Argus knocks him up, but they don't have any more immediate follow-up. Orignal has already dropped his ultimate. Airstrike from Axiom allows him to get to the back line to defend, but now it's Snadows who's in some trouble in the back end as the rest of Cyclone want to keep pushing forward. Wild Hunt slows them down, and Big Money keep this thing alive.
How is everyone still alive? Shaolin finally going back to base. Spartan, what are you doing? Snadows able to find the first pick of this encounter with a 5-on-4 advantage for 40 seconds. They're not the most healthiest. They're not going to go for this Fire Giant. I can't imagine, as I say that, Xerxes going to pull it.
They've got it pulled. Big Money are here, but they got to be careful. YarBadKid is right nearby, and he would love to do some damn slow health targets, but he gets controlled by the Cobra's Kiss and blown up. Conviction gets the last hit on that one. Big Money having a big fight here at the end of the game.
It was just a bait. It's April Fools. Of course they weren't going for the Fire Giant. They wanted to kill onto this Pele that didn't have beads, didn't have the ultimate available. Reset. Xerxes still has him back to base, and he's sitting at 20% health.
Yeah, my mind is still back with Orignalspartan going into the Bakasura on Snadows and getting his life served up to him on a platter. Now Big Money wants the tier 1 tower and right. Argus still available, and she'll drop it on the ShaolinSSinS. He's been zoned away. The structure comes crumbling down. Now Big Money can do what they want with the map, but I doubt it's the FG.
Snadows on the left-hand side, split pushing this tier 2 tower.
Nice.
She'll be able to get it for free unless Orignal can stop it at the last moment. Will actually do that. Does have teleport for the solo laner, so he's not too worried about overextending like this.
Pyromancer goes down for Big Money. Snadows gets the red buff. That one's been stolen away. And a nice win for Big Money, though even with all that going their way, getting the Pyromancer, the tier 1 and Rye, even the red buff, there's still not even a full 1,000 gold out in front. This game is dead even.
This is how it kind of was in the last game in terms of kills, but the gold lead was favoring out Cyclone ever so slightly up until they were the ones to pull the Fire Giant. So it's going to come down to this late game objective, unless Xerxes can force something out, but no one else close enough to him. This is kind of a bait tactic where you go in as a support, you force out maybe a defensive relic with the threat that somebody's around the corner to follow up.
That's right. If Cyclone don't have the information that there is no follow-up, they might use some defensive cooldowns, and that's a bit of a win. Now ShaolinSSinS is in trouble. There's 4 members of Big Money Gaming catching them out. Cobra's Kiss into the last breath, but it's too late. It actually does get the throw on the tail end of it, even with the Fatal Strike, so ShaolinSSinS is in some trouble. He has no healing, but the shell is there. Wild Hunt puts him into the boar form for the lockdown. He's still taking it all up somehow, but the root ends up landing, and Privative catches him out.
It took 4 Chaos Boys to take out this Achilles, a true raid boss fashion. Left-hand side, Snadows going for the tier 2 yet again, forcing out ultimate for ultimate, but now with Axioms around the corner, looking for the cleanup.
Crits came through, but Axiom hits all his shots. That's all it takes. Explosive bolts are pretty good. Beaudilla's in some trouble. Epic Uppercut should lock him down. Polymorph is waiting, and Adaption gets the kill. So across the map, it's 2 for 1. They only lose Snadows, and they've got the advantage if they want to go for FG.
They certainly can, honestly. The Argus is available for Adaption. It's going to be hard for anyone to really contest this from Cyclone, especially without the crushing wave for the steal, but they're just going to look for the poke damage. I love it. Axiom going to try to just peel himself away with a persistent gust, and knowing this, Privative just instantly ambushes away. He didn't have the last breath available then and there.
It did just cross over to the Enhanced Fire Giant. Maybe that's why they didn't want to go for it. It does immediately become harder to take, right? So if you're at the 25-minute mark and it's a coin toss and it just crossed over, maybe you hesitate until you have your full team there.
I think it increases by 2,000 in health. Protections goes up a little bit as well. The damage increases. So if you don't have all 5 healthy members to juggle aggro/DPS it, you might want to give it a second thought. As Spartan might want to give a second thought to his positioning, but Xerxes not in range to find the root.
Privative can't find the Cobra's Kiss just yet. He's forced to ambush and Deathbane away. Xerxes, though, being shredded on the right-hand side, has to use his ultimate just to disengage. ShaolinSSinS can't quite lock him down, so he somehow makes it out. Now it's Snadows on the back end, trying to use the ultimate, but that can't hit home either. It's so many targets that are low, and ShaolinSSinS finally seals the deal with the execute.
They juke out one ultimate, but you can't juke out another. And this time it's adaption between a rock and a hard place. He's going to be the second victim. However, Spartan biting off more than he could chew on the back end of things. Still looking for a play. Privative gonna go down. The rest of the team looking for another kill, but Conviction safe under his own tier 2 tower.
YarBadKid with a double, and that means now Cyclone have the man advantage. It's 4v2. Xerxes healthy and is back, and Cyclone are anything but healthy, so there's plenty of opportunity for Conviction and Xerxes to play Disruption. They've got to force Cyclone to be very clear on this communication, and Conviction's a good target. He's the squishy one, but he makes it back out, and Cyclone have nothing for their time spent. They're going to still consider going for the FG yet again.
I don't know about this play because Spartan is a true confirmer of objectives. Like, Xerxes will look to escape now. I thought for a second they might tower dive this. It is a little bit low, but they need minions to eliminate some of the backdoor protection. It's a little risky now knowing Conviction is around the corner. But no, they're just going to give up the tier 2 tower for free. Only a 2-on-4, so not wanting to overstretch.
Man, Axiom is shredding right now. He's got a full crit build online. We're not giving him enough credit for this. Poison Star, Wind Demon, and Deathbringer are all complete, plus the Executioner. Xerxes doesn't stand a chance up against this Jing right now.
Definitely not, and the timing needs to be perfect when you go for crit. Like, people could build into Height of Nemeans, but you need Height of Nemean and Thorns to really stop a critical strike build. So at this point, without that option available for big money, since they have all 10 relics available, this Jing is going to have a field day. Not at the top of the player damage charts quite yet, but keep an eye on her as we progress further.
It's not just that, as right as you are. It's because of this composition, right? They went double assassin instead of another warrior or guardian in solo, so crit gets that much better against this composition. Xerxes might be trying to go for some defensive options to slow it down, maybe like a mid-guardian or something like that, but right now, Axiom, this is his game to try and put in as much damage as he wants to until someone tells him otherwise.
Gonna force out the Pyromancer. Big money gaming, not even close in positioning. Snadows was thinking about split pushing the left-hand side. Xerxes gonna poke his head around the corner, but it's gonna be too little, too late. It's actually Beaudilla that wants to start things off right.
And then for the flop, Xerxes so far has been A-OK with shrugging off the damage. Look where Snadows is, though. He might have a chance to loop back around, but I think he's been spotted out by Axiom, who forces him away from the rest of the squad. But now a chance for another pincer, as all of Cyclone have grouped up in the middle, and Big Money have a chance to loop back around.
Privative was thinking about flanking on the right side, going to find the route onto Shaolin. The Mergardi Man going to slow down Conviction's basic attacks, but that's plenty of damage coming from Adaption.
Forces the Fatal Strike out early. It looks like that gets blocked by Privative, who drops the last breath. So he's quite low. He'll have to back. Has teleport to wards, though, if he wants to come back out. It's fully upgraded at this point.
Not really too worried, but Fatal Strike being down is a big deal. However, the last breath, no longer an option for Big Money Gaming to force any issues around this Fire Giant buff. Left side, tier 2 tower going to go down to a couple of minions. Conviction going to get stunned out in the mid lane, but no follow-up.
Totally, this is so close between these teams. No one has a clear advantage or an easy way to get picks at this point. That's why we're seeing all this idling around these objectives as Orignal finally ends up low, has to use Crushing Wave, and Aegis buys him some time. Beaudilla also very low on the left-hand side. He's being hunted down by Snadows, but he just barely survives.
This level 20 Bakasura nearly deleted this Bacchus. Xerxes now very low on his own right. He's trying to run away. Currently, Mez a little bit off the mark, but he's not too worried. AxiomSpeed using the airstrike just to disengage.
They want to keep pushing on the ShaolinSSinS. They've got Argus to tank it up, but it is Adaption who gets the kill credit. Re-engaging is YarBadKid, but even the Pele can't 1v4. But that's enough to push back Big Money. They don't get the tier 2. They only get the pick. So really, things are still very close.
A little risky to try to look for this offensive play from Cyclone. They could be buying themselves right into a trap, forcing the beats from the Hera, trying to dash away his Conviction. Aegis, not enough to keep him alive.
So it's 1-for-1. Hunter Conviction goes down for solo ShaolinSSinS, which makes it a 4v4. But it's Cyclone who are still healthy and still in the map. But they might need to do something about this wave over on the left-hand side. It's pressuring this left side Phoenix, and it will be Axiom they send to go stop it. That was a thick wave with 3 Cs, and they finally get over there to slow it down.
Couple of Cs, but no Onis around there or fire minions to find the kill. I'm not sure if that would have been a guaranteed Phoenix kill, but either way, getting that farm can never hurt a Jing Wei that's trying to sell off those booties to get a 6th item and the Elixir of Speed. And so far, so good for Cyclone after that team fight. But like you mentioned before, Finch, this game is dead even, basically.
So
12 apiece. Sure, 3.5 to 4,000 gold lead goes to Cyclone, but at 31 minutes, that's negligible. You don't mind that whatsoever. All the Phoenixes are still very healthy. It's all going to come down to this next Fire Giant skirmish.
I oftentimes look towards these relics to see where the advantage actually is, because it's so close everywhere else. And what I'm seeing is that Conviction is vulnerable. Aegis and Beads are both down. There's a chance that YarBadKid or even Orignal can get back there and punish him in the next fight if they're able to force one quickly before those relics are back up.
Privative going to back up to taking about 30 to 40% of his health. And the problem that I'm seeing, Finch, is something that you pointed out earlier. This double assassin, it has reached its peak, I feel, because the damage from Cyclone is just starting to outweigh it, but the enhanced Fire Giant has been pulled. It is very low. Xerxes looking for something.
ShaolinSSinS got to force his way in to try and keep this one going, but so far there's no big fireworks or anything like that. They finally dropped down Argus, but it's not even onto the objective itself. It's just sitting low, and Cyclone finally confirm it. Orignal gets a kill, but Axiom falls in trade. So does Adaption, which makes it 2-for-1 in favor of Cyclone, and they have the objective, so it's coming up all order so far.
Privative running away as well. Spartan actually using that ultimate defensively to prevent himself from getting mez, not to confirm the objective. I thought for sure without that ultimate that Big Money Gaming had a relatively high success rate at stealing that objective with maybe Snadows' ultimate, but not finding it that time around. Xerxes just trying to buy time. Running to your opponent's base when you know you're dead is what you probably want to do to create that distance, making it a longer travel time from them to get to your side of the base.
Keep them as far away from your objectives as possible. Remember, it was also AxiomSpeed was the lone person who died on Cyclone, probably their best right now for shredding through these towers, so that did slow them down a good bit as well. Big Money, though, only still have 2 people who are alive, so defense is going to be difficult for them. It's just the Serqet and Conviction. Still doesn't even have his Aegis available, but Cyclone have slowed down. They got the tier 2. They're going to strip away this red buff. They're not pressuring Phoenixes just yet.
No, definitely not, and I need to see more plays like that out of Xerxes. Just getting in the thick of things, getting a multi-man mez, but so far, they haven't been able to follow up from it. That last Fire Giant scuffle, my man goes in, and everyone else is kind of like waiting around the corners like, hey, we're going to see how you perform. Like, we're going to see you jump in the pool first from like this 20-foot dive board before they all kind of follow soon. And by that point, it was just a little bit too late. If anything, maybe they could have actually went on to Orignalspartan instead of the Fire Giant.
That might have been a little bit better for them in that last engagement, but now Big Money have to consider if they have to play defense because the Fire Giant was there for Cyclone. Though they haven't really gotten a ton off the back end, maybe Big Money can still stick around as just about everyone's starting to sell away these boots totally. Snadows has the boots gone from this build if he ever had them. I don't even remember if he bothered with them. And you can see that so has Axiom. He has that Elixir of Speed. I think Aussie's what he put in that slot instead. We're getting towards the late game right now for these characters.
That's true, and then we're going to see some 3K potions probably sooner rather than later. It's going to be a long time before that Tier 2 tower goes down and the Phoenix Siege after the fact. It's going to be up to these mid laners, like I mentioned before, of how these teamfights are going to pan out. And thus far, Orignal has been putting in the pain, but not as much as Adaption, sitting at the top of the charts.
Yeah, this Hera, man, has been a nightmare for Cyclone so far. This Tier 2 towers, this is nothing to either one of these teams. This means very little, so they're going to go ahead and give that one up and shred it down. This is where Big Money really want to try and make their money, is this defense on the left side Phoenix. Fire Giant buff is still here for everyone except Axiom. So they still have that slight advantage, but Big Money can certainly defend.
It's about control and how you use it, and thus far, Xerxes needs to synergize with Conviction to find a double route maybe, but Cyclone, they're going to force the issue now on this left side Phoenix.
Xerxes already hit the epic uppercut. Wild Hunt is waiting for ShaolinSSinS when he lands, so he's low already, but it's Snadows who gets shredded and has to jump back. Privative can find no way in. They have a ward right there. They knew exactly where he was, but Conviction is able to take down YarBadKid. This is a good defense so far.
He was diving a little bit too deep. Everyone else had to disengage to protect their Achilles. Good knockup onto Xerxes, but he's still healthy enough to survive. This left side Phoenix is staying alive for the moment, but it's incredibly low. Look at the Serqet, looking for the flank.
But they know she's there. Remember, they still have that ward. It's not a surprise as Axiom gets quite low. Airstrike forced out. Phoenix is very low. They might want to commit just to make sure that it goes down, but Adaption gets one kill.
Dead.
Finally, the Phoenix goes down. Orignal is at least able to find Xerxes. Axiom finds Privative, but Axiom falls in trade. It's 4 members of Cyclone that go down. Big Money, sub 3 alive, but they did lose their Phoenix.
If they got decided there, that might have been game immediately. With these long respawn timers, plenty of an opportunity for Big Money Gaming to barrel it down the opposite end, but so far they can't do that now because Habwa alone can defend against 4, maybe even 5 members with a great knockup into the crushing wave, and that's the late game threat of a Habwa. And so far, Cyclone, they were very ambitious for the left side Phoenix, and they're counting their lucky stars that they didn't get decided because that would have been really bad. So by technicality, worth.
You know, I keep talking about how Privative was on that ward, but I don't even know if it mattered. Sure, he wasn't able to get in and actually do damage, but Cyclone kept having to, like, kind of look over their shoulder, like, every time Privative stepped into ward range, they're like, okay, Serqet might be coming, so they could never fully commit to the front of the fight underneath the actual Phoenix.
It's a similar idea to when a Mercury Sonic booms through a team fight, and then all of a sudden, everyone turns around on the Mercury, and you're like, all right, but behind you, though.
Right.
You got to worry about that angle as well.
It wasn't easy.
Definitely not. So it's a similar idea where you want to be the distraction, where last game Orignalspartan on the Giannis was that distraction. This time in this late left side Phoenix defense, it was Privative being that distraction, allowing his team to get 4 kills.
We'll see if Orignalspartan can make it happen for them again. As the Fire Giant's fallen off now, the big advantage for Cyclone is that there's fire minions that Big Money have to worry about. That's why Snadows is pushing up the wave. He does have teleport, but it's not upgraded, so he'll have a harder time getting to this Fire Giant in time. The enhanced version already down to half HP. Big Money will have 4 members here to defend it, but it's already low.
It is very low. They are going to hard commit to it because Adaption gets obliterated by YarBadKid. Xerxes trying to do what he can, but he's going to be hard switched.
This feels good so far for Cyclone. Xerxes is low in the backside. He's pushed into the passive right away. Privative at least takes down Axiom. That's their hunter and a lot of their damage. It's 2 for 1. But look at Snadows. He's threatening the Phoenix left-hand side with his ultimate. It doesn't take down the backdoor protections, but it does at least tank for him for a while as no one's here to stop it.
And there he goes. He's going to get the Phoenix. He's going to maybe even go for the end if given the opportunity. I think the rest of his team needs to stop the backs, but Orignalspartan already back in there and trading out Phoenix for Phoenix. The Fire Giant still stands. This is the best case scenario that Big Money Gaming could have hoped for.
Now Snadows needs to live throughout all of this as YarBadKid blinks past him and looks for the knockup. Magai's Cloak keeps him alive, but Snadows will die. So it's just Privative and Conviction to try and defend up against 4, but they're not even going to push. They're just going to take this Primal for now to buff them against the objectives.
Not able to avoid that knockup. He did absorb the Magai's Cloak and the rest of it. I think he was fine if he just kept in mind that he had Magai's Cloak, that he wouldn't have gotten knocked up from the Pele, and he just kept running straight north. But at the end of the day, the timing of his death also matters because it was a staggered death. It allows Adaption and Xerxes to revive, now trying to play defense in a 4-on-5 at this Fire Giant. They don't have to worry about fire minions on the left side because of a perfect split push out of Snadows.
They should cancel each other out. Conviction's nearby, but he'll have a hard time defending this on his own. Wild Hunt still not available yet, though the cooldown is close, so he might have steal potential with that. As Axiom has rejoined the team, ShaolinSSinS goes to zone. Fire Giant low, Xerxes trying to force his way in, but secured by Cyclone, and now they take the fight on the back end.
Arga's going to do a little bit of damage onto Spartan. Look at Privative looking for some angle to get in. Nice. Does get identified by the ward. Great recognition from Cyclone as they're trying to disengage after confirming the enhanced Fire Giant buff.
Across the 40-minute threshold now, Xerxes gets pulled in. Great play by Orignalspartan that sets up ShaolinSSinS to get a pick. Privative's on the backside, yes, but I think everyone knows he's there. The secret's out, and so that means he can't find his way back in, and he'll get nothing instead.
Privative on the back end of it all. Conviction and Snadows getting the Hobwa out of the equation, but YarBadKid doing the favor returned.
AxiomSpeed gets a kill as well. 3 go down for big money. So it's just these 2 assassins who are able to move around the map. He wants Axiom as he's done so far, but no potential with 2 people there keeping him alive. Snadows is going to keep split pushing.
Yeah, why not? It worked for him at the left side. Why not do it again? As we're seeing the solo lane Shaolin making his presence felt, backing to play defense. I like what Privative is doing too, delaying the inevitable push on the left-hand side. That is a weakened state Phoenix, but keep in mind, Axioms needs to be there for the damage. Snadows is going to do what he can, allowing Privative to make his rotation as well.
He kept the Mad Guy's cloak up, so maybe he can force his way to the back line now and start shredding him. Privative uses the Cobra's Kiss, but that left side Phoenix has already gone down. Now you have to decommit if you're on the side of big money, because there's no structure to even defend as Xerxes respawns.
Oh, look at all those fire minions.
There's a lot of them.
Like 4 waves of them? That seems like 12 archers almost, and that's enough of a window to use those 12 archers on the left side and get this middle Phoenix in return.
It goes down 2. This is looking much better now for Cyclone. Epic uppercut from Xerxes, but who's there for the follow-up? It's Snackers. He comes in with the regurgitate, but immediately gets intoxicated by Beaudilla, who drops the ultimate. That means big money can't keep up that initiation.
Keep in mind, they don't have Sparta. He just revived from the base, picking up his own speed buff. Shaolin going to get knocked out by the Argus. Wild Hunt was used, but the Fatal Strike preventing himself from getting turned into a little piggy, but that's not going to stop the rest of big money looking for a pick.
I wonder if this is the best chance for big money to just keep running down mid lane and fight them on the back end after Cyclone committed so much. They are going to look for it. Beaudilla gets mezzed out, but Cyclone's still healthy, and now they can counter push with Fire Minion.
The speed above Hobwa really annoying for Big Money Gaming to do anything around, and with these 2 waves now of Fire Minions between left side and mid wave, Big Money have 2 for the price of 1 that they got to worry about. They do have the left side Phoenix respawning for Cyclone, so that could be an option for Snadows now to really try to look for that split push. He got stopped in the mid lane earlier, but I don't think it's going to stop him on the left side.
It really feels like this composition is starting to hurt big money, Tully. I mean, neither one of these assassins can make it quite to pay dirt and really get enough value off. AxiomSpeed is too safe. Orignalspartan can absolutely peel for himself. I mean, there's just not enough room for them to make it in.
Definitely not, especially without the blink for Snadows. He opted to go for the beads as a result of all the CC from Cyclone. You got to worry about the Bacchus. You got to worry about the double knockups of this Pele Hobwa. So I got to respect that fact. I think the composition just kind of hurt big money when they were thinking about laning phase a little bit too much.
YarBadKid and Snadows going to battle it out, and right now the Pele is out in front. Too much sustain, and that makes it a 5v4 in favor of Cyclone. Now big money have to defend the right side Phoenix, the only one still standing at this point in the game.
Privative trying to be that distraction yet again, but he might fall if he's not careful. Axiom wasting a lot of time there, but not wasting it if you're going to find the kill at the end of the day.
Well, that's it for those 2 assassins. They no longer have to worry about finding a way in because they've both been killed. It's Cyclone, 4 members strong. Even still, YarBadKid has not rejoined the squad, but Axiom is shredding away at the right side Phoenix. Big money with just their 3-man core to try and defend up against Cyclone.
Mid Phoenix not due to respawn for a while, but look at how many minions are about to enter the throne room. This could go to game number 3, Finch.
I think Cyclone have a chance to force their way in. Fire minions pouring right through the front door. Titan already at half health. Titan already shredded. Cyclone in a 44-minute slugfest take the game over Big Money Gaming.
I love the presence from YarBadKid. Playing this Pele as opposed to the Bakasura in the last game was just at the right place at the right time more often than not. And this double assassin did not really impress me from Big Money.
I agree.
In these late game team fights where you need more control, you need more ways to lock down the backline, they didn't have that option available to them.
And I think Orignal on this Hobwa was a big part of why. He did an absurd amount of damage throughout this game, and he was able to peel to reposition with that ultimate too and make sure he stayed safe.
Now, we did criticize this build for going for Divine Ruin and holding onto the Curse Star Orb for as long as he did, but when you're a Hobwa, you're still a Hobwa at the end of the day, so it almost doesn't matter what items you go.
It certainly didn't matter for Orignal here in this game. An excellent performance from him and really the whole rest of the squad to even things up, force a game 3, and I'm going to get it back over to the desk so they can break it down for you.
You know, I asked for the Hebo, and I got the Hebo, Mamma Jammas. Tom and Taco here to break down game number 2 as we extend the series to a third game. So really, as you heard the guys talk, it doesn't really matter what you build when you're building Hilo, but I saw Pele.
I saw a little bit of Pele action in the works there, but I definitely think that the Pele was a large part of the reason that this Hebo was able to be so successful. It was just so much burst damage between the two of them that even at times where Spartan would get picked off, you just knew that you could rely on your YarBadKid to have the follow, which, you know, normally you wouldn't expect anybody with bad in their name. You're just like, oh yeah, okay, I'm sure this guy's going to make the plays they're going to bring in the difference.
What about Joseph Bodman? Right, that guy could bring it, or Jody Badman, the popular opera singer. Yeah,
I'll take your YarBadKid over these guys, and hey, he was making Big Money eSports look bad on that Pele. I got to give credit where it's due, man. He had so much mobility and just really ensured that Cyclone had about as easy of a time as you could want to have when you have a Hebo in the mid lane.
Well, Big Money looking like they need a little bit of an allowance here as they're not able to come up on top. You brought up a big point, though, that I just memed over, and I sincerely apologize because it was a huge one. Orignalspartan right here on the Hebo, your job is to, like, murder people. But if you wind up just coming up short, you need a jungler like YarBadKid to really continue what you were starting. And so what we saw a number of times was Hebo would kill players. And then if he didn't, well, he caused enough damage for the jungler to just come through and smack him upside. So a great, fantastic teamwork push and pull there from YarBadKid and Spartan.
So things surrounding this now that we're in the conversation of a best of 3 here. I mean, technically, you get to look at the reset factors involved with like the mental aspects for both of these teams. But I definitely think as far as momentum shifts are concerned, things would probably be a little bit more favorable here for Cyclone just because they just had the most recent game victory, especially after how tough game 1 was between themselves and Big Money eSports. So a lot on the line here right now for both of these teams.